think the ideal person for the resource is anyone, with an appetite for innovation, with an appetite for transformation. It's hopefully been designed to allow aspiring advanced practice trainees, service managers, strategic leads to kind of see how their service can be done differently, or perhaps changed in some way, supported in some way. So it's not intended for any one audience in mind, other than that key ingredient of awareness of advanced practice and an appetite for change and doing something differently.
Someone picking up this resource will see a workbook which will guide them through the process. So it's very clearly stepwise through. There are then supplementary resources. There are PowerPoint spreadsheets to run workshops. There are pre-recorded videos with information content that you can pull on at different stages of the workbook. But the point of the resource is to act as a tool to bring people together, to ask you challenging questions, to give you a shared set of ground rules to work with, to then help you have local conversations.
So the first section of the resource is the service analysis framework, and that essentially asks you 3 questions. What are the challenges for your pathway or service? Would advanced practice help those challenges and help kind of solve them or make headway? And then, is that pathway ready for something like advanced practice? So the challenges of the pathway we've shaped around the quadruple aims of healthcare. So looking at the cost inefficiencies for that pathway, can reductions in costs be made? What are the patient outcomes? What's the patient experience of dealing with that service and liaising with it? And then finally, what is the experience of the people delivering that care? Are they happy, or are they not happy, etc. In terms of would advanced practice help, we've used the 4 pillars of advanced practice, and again it's really quick and high level, and it's supposed to be answering that question of, should we pursue this conversation? So is there a clinical need, leadership, research, education that would help those challenges outlined against the quadruple aims? And then finally, is the pathway ready? Does it align to system priorities? Is the wider NDT ready for innovation and kind of up for transformation of care? And then finally, is there a workforce that could take this challenge on, that we could bring through and develop? And this is a really useful exercise initially, because it allows you very quickly to know if this is time worth spending on this conversation. And it's also particularly useful for people that are supporting a number of different pathways, potentially across different care settings, and advanced practice could potentially be used across all of those. It's very difficult to do everything all at once. So where do you start with something like this? And this service analysis framework allows you to kind of get to that answer relatively quickly. The resource actually contains a lot of tools to help you frame the ask, for the wider stakeholder group. So for example, we've created some posters which at a quick glance would let someone know what it is that they've been asked to come to, why it is they've been asked to come to it, and what is hoped will be the end product of their time spent on, on this conversation and this process.
So as the facilitator, what we hope is you will pick up the workbook, and it will talk you through this series of workshops that you can run with your staff. The first workshop is helping to bring everyone together to a shared understanding. So we call it the what. What is advanced practice? What is this going to mean at a very high level introductory sense for your service? The second workshop we say is the why of advanced practice. And in a way we put advanced practice down at this point. This is a structured, detailed conversation about local service challenges. So we don't want to create an advanced practice role for the sake of it. And we're really clear that the purpose of this resource isn't to shoehorn advanced practice in, it's to challenge ourselves around whether it's going to add something to the challenges that we have locally. And then the third workshop we call the how. So this is when you bring the knowledge of advanced practice that you've created together in workshop 1, together with those local service challenges that you've created in workshop 2. Think, okay, how is an advanced practice role or multiple roles going to be the solution to the challenges that we've created, either through direct clinical intervention, through leadership, through education of others. So it's not about creating a hero who's going to solve every challenge that you've come up with, but what is their role? What could their role be in helping to transform that pathway and move that service forward? So for each of the workshops, there's a section of the workbook which says before the workshop you need to do this, during the workshop you need to do this, here are your tutor notes, and after the workshop here are your next steps. We've got things like template emails, so if you're inviting stakeholders and you want to explain what they're coming for, we've tried to, as much as we can, anticipate some of those things you're going to need. So you've got that text which explains what's the purpose of the workshop, what are they coming, what are they going to expect. And then within the workshops themselves, we've got scripted tutor notes for the slides. For some of the more discussion-based bits of the workshops, so where we're using frameworks to ask challenging questions about services, what we've tried to do is to collate and crowdsource different questions that people have found useful. So actually, if people run a little bit dry, what are examples of questions that you can throw in that might get them to look at things from a different angle? One of the challenges that gets raised a lot when we're asking about local services is we don't have enough of X staff group. That is a challenge. In terms of applying it to this workshop, what we want you to say is, well, what's the impact of not having enough? What does that mean for patients, for other members of the team, for the way that your pathway is able to function? So how do we probe a little bit deeper into those surface issues that lots of us can reel off? What's the impact of those to then be able to work out what solution we need to come up with?
One of the big advantages of going through this process is the workbook, which complements the slide packs, the workshop slide packs, allows you to evidence the conversations that have happened, resulting in essentially a business case in raw form. So it's evidence that thoughtful conversation has gone into this role, it's evidence of need, it documents challenges from all corners of the service, of the MDT, and can be a really, really impactful document which can then be formatted, you know, as the group wish in whatever manner to kind of really make that strong case for change, for advanced practice development, and ultimately for you know, transformational care for patients.